think
It
that's
looks like
everyone.
we've got a full house.
Yeah, we do. All righty, let's call this meeting to order and roll call.
Johnson present.
Obviously, Roberts is here. Okay. Any visitors?
No, not this evening.
Not this evening? Okay. Oh, good. All righty, well, let's get down to it. I think we have some minutes that need to be approved. Let's see. Meeting of March the 9th. Any comments, corrections, anything of that nature from Ray? Anybody else?
No.
Nope.
Nope.
Okay. So go approved. And I will assume we also need to approve the minutes for March the 15th, our additional meeting that we had on Buena Vista. Pretty straightforward, but any comments or changes, Ray?
No.
Okay, also approved. All righty. Okay, let's jump into it. Are we ready to begin, Dave?
Yes, we're already to me already.
Yeah. I
You
think it's
better
gonna be a
sleep.
quick meeting.
Wow, I was just trying to bring up the agenda and I was like, oh man, they're already talking. Okay. So let's see, Sandia Creek and Via Picaros is up first, I believe.
Yep.
And let's see, the environmental process is going. It's not going super speed, but it's still going. The estimate for us to get a permit for that one is roughly first part of July. And so that's going along. The good news is on the plans and specs on that project, you know, we've revised those for the FEMA where they wanted us to extend the existing pipes all the way through and get rid of the lining, but have brand new pipes in there and all that kind of stuff. Ron has all that designed. And FEMA said we didn't have to go out to bid again, that we can negotiate with the existing contractor.
Cool.
So that's all great news. So we're gonna send the contractor the revised set of plans next week. Ron, can we do that? I didn't really ask you that.
Yeah, we can do that. We have everything ready. It just needs to be packaged together. So
Yeah, so we'll put that out to them, give them, you know, a week or two to look at it. We already have the existing bid prices on there. He may come back and say, hey, costs have gone up in the last year. And there's a cost index that's out there. It's a national, you know, cost index increase. It's typically maybe at the most, what is it, like been running like 2% or something like that. So we might have to give him that just because it's been a year of him
Mhm.
sitting around. But anyway, that'll all be part of the negotiation. There's a big chunk that will come out, which is the lining. And that was a big price tag, right, Ron?
that was definitely one of the major scope items. Yes.
Yeah, so I see the price actually coming down. Like even though we're adding the extra length of pipe and some extra street work and some concrete work, I don't see it going up, but we'll give him some time to look at that. We'll negotiate, then we'll bring it back to the engineering committee. Probably to give you probably in May or June, just so you guys can look at that, and then we'll take it back to the board and have them approve that. Any change, you know, any change, plus or minus or whatever the change is,
Mhm.
and then be ready to go out to bid and ready to start construction as soon as we get the permit in hand. So that one's all looking pretty good.
Good.
Don't really have any other question or any items on that. Do we have any questions on that project from anybody?
No, I'm good.
One comment, the reason that we have not had our meeting with Todd Close is my concern over the environmental and what the exact date's gonna be.
Mhm.
They have been accepting of the delays thus far, and I just didn't want to push it with them. If we give them a date, we need to be pretty much that must needs to be confirmed this time.
Well, right.
So with the environmental, it just keeps changing. So,
Yeah, we'll probably tell him that he can't, that expect to start in August or something like that to give us plenty of time.
you're saying that he would begin in August, right? Is
Yeah.
that where we're at now? Okay.
Yeah. That
Okay.
would, and that'll give him plenty of time to get it all done. That'll give him August and then September and October and be done. And it'll be done mid-October. We'd put a priority on the Sandia Creek, and the VF at Carroll's is a minor thing, and he could delay that until after he's done with Sandy Creek and then get on that. Not too concerned about Sandy Creek since it's such a small water course.
Well, Via Vaquero.
VF at Carroll's, excuse me, because it's small water course. We already have 2 pipes in there. Storms come through. It's very well protected.
Mhm.
But if it overflows and all that, so we kind of make them concentrate on Sandia Creek to get that done first. So that'll be part of that negotiation. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Then the next item, I believe, is Buena Vista.
Mhm.
Buena Vista also is running on a similar track. It's supposed to be in July that we get a permit on that. What we're going to do on that, Ron is busy working on the design now. We got the surveyors are out there this week. Have you heard from them, Ron, on that? Did they make it out there yet, or they're?
No, they're supposed to. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt there. They're supposed to be out there on Wednesday.
On Wednesday. So tomorrow, if anyone
Yes.
drives by, which you don't really want to because it's a dead end, but anyway, if anybody's out there or get a phone call, we have surveyors are out there working on that. And then Ron will put those together. So what we'll do is we'll bring plans back to you guys, the engineering committee in May, asking for permission, on your part to recommend to go out to bid to the board also in May, so we can go out to bid. Jim and I talked about giving them a good bid period. So really bring it back in July to both you and the board on accepting the bids that do come in. And then with that, we could start also in August. So we could have 2 projects starting, simultaneously out there, which really wouldn't affect your traffic flow since one street is already,
Mhm.
both streets are already shut down. So it's not like we have to worry about traffic issues out there in either one of those streets, except for Via Vaquero, which is a smaller project. So anyway, that would work out pretty well. And so that's kind of the time frame that we have at the moment. As we all know, this environmental's dragged on a long time.
Mhm.
And but they've both been in the review period. They had some comments. We're approaching the 60-day review period, so it'll all be in that time frame, unless they come back and change something on us, and then we'll let you guys know as soon as that is. So anyway, that's my report on Buena Vista.
Okay, very good. Any questions, Ray?
Nope.
Jim, anything for you?
Jim's
Okay.
on mute, so he can't talk.
Oh, he is on mute.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
All righty.
There, I'm
then.
back. I'm fine. Go, good.
Okay, okay, good. All righty, let's move on then. Traffic. Mr. Steve.
Good evening. Jessica have a slideshow here for us.
Oh, give me one. Oh, no, there we go.
All right. So we continue to update the rotation of the speed sign. It's out on El Prado South right now, and it's moving on to La Cruz, Branca, and Hardin in the next phase.
Okay.
We're thanking our sheriff publicly for continuing to enforce stop signs. He was only able to write 15 more citations in March because the violations are dropping out there. You know, as you know, he started in January with about 30 and 25 last month, and now it's down to 15. So people are getting the idea that they have to stop at the stop signs, which is really good. And we're working with him to help us out with that mess that you see here. We're trying to see if we can get a CCTV camera possibly up there to watch the activity, but this is what was dumped on the wildlife conservation area. And then next slide will show you the fencing there that's missing. That's why they can dump it up on the top of the hill there in Gatillo and then let it just roll down the hill. So we contacted the conservation group and we asked them to replace it, and the county came out and replaced the fencing.
Okay.
And it's kind of hard to see through the chain link fence now, but you can see all that trash is gone. And with that, I'll answer any questions on the traffic.
I have one question. Maybe I shouldn't assume, but are you all aware that the stop sign that continually gets knocked down on Sycamore Mesa is literally gone?
Yep.
Okay, so we're
It's-
working on
It's now gone.
completely gone.
Okay.
It's nowhere to be seen.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll get that taken care of.
Yeah, so definitely it's going on a couple of weeks because I was out of town last week and back this weekend and still, yeah, completely gone, no trace of it.
Okay, all righty.
Okay,
And our maintenance update now. We've sprayed along for weeds on the shoulders that we had graded previously on those 3 arterial streets. The weather was good for that. We're continuing to get good compliance from our homeowners to trimming trees and shrubberies and things out of our right of way. We continue to work with the sheriff on illegal dumping sites. We have a camera watching this one.
okay,
We were able to get out and revisit 223 drains to start clearing the minor growth that's accumulated over the last 6 months there. And now we're looking to start possible scheduling of some of the flushing out of some of the more critical silt.
You know, Steve, can we stop on that one? Maybe
Yes, sir.
expand a little bit. You know, this is really the first time that that we've really been monitoring and cleaning out these drains, and by that I mean the metal pipes that run under the roads. And remember about 2 years ago, we developed a map that shows where all the drains are that we own because they're under our road. And then we began cataloging them, determining their size, determining their condition, etc. Well, one of the projects for the spring, now that winter is just about over, is to take the drains that are the most critical, and there's like 223, right, Steve? Isn't that what the slide showed?
Mhm.
Anyway, that we would like to begin clearing out, and we clear them all the time of material that's in the middle of the drains, but the floor of the drains we haven't approached yet. And so it came to be that we said, okay, we've got these 200, let's start clearing them out. We were talking about renting a water truck, flushing them out. But it came after discussion somewhat to a halt, because we have a pretty good idea. CMP, they tell us, lasts 30 to 40 years. And most likely, well, the drains are probably, Steve, correct me, 25% of the circle at the bottom is full of sand and rock and that kind of thing. Is that about right? 25%?
Yeah, About 25% of those 223, yeah.
Right, so if we were to take water and push that material out one end and then pick it up, the concern is that it's likely that those are all rusted out on the bottom. That's very sizable expense. What do we do then? Line them or what, there's really no good way to repair them. So anyway, where we're at this point is we've kind of stopped, because had we done that, then we've got to do something to repair these pipes between now and next winter. And there aren't any funds budgeted for that. So we're probably going to, in the next month or so, maybe run some tests, do a few, see what we uncover. But if we had just gone into a cleaning mode and all of these are rotted out at the bottom, we may have wished we had left the material alone. Right now, it's kind of its own stream bed through those pipes. And so anyway, Steve, you want to add to that? It's just kind of where we're at. We're right in the middle of this right now.
Yeah, I think that's what we're saying, and we'll do is we'll take it slow, and we'll take, 10 to 12 maybe, and try those out and see how those look. And then that'll give us an idea before we proceed any further.
Okay, yeah, we don't really have a budget for drain overhaul yet. And with 200 of these, that could be a big number. So anyway, we'll keep you advised. We'll know more next month. But a few weeks ago, this occurred, and so we're kind of working on that now. So that's kind of where we're at for now, but it's a work in progress. So you'll be hearing more.
Okay.
Sorry, Steve, I just wanted to add that.
No, all good, all good. All right. This next item was a safety issue that we were called out for. Some nice person left a bunch of roofing material spilled in the Los Gatos Hill. And it was not good. It was at the middle of the night. The CHP, as you can see in this picture, responded, and in order to protect the motorist, they put some cones up. But the northbound lane was essentially shut down. Staff was called out to remove the materials, and so we got out there in the dark and got the skip loader out there and moved it off. Here's a kind of an idea to show you how much was actually in the roadway. All that big giant pile was actually in the roadway. We loaded it up, so the good thing was nobody hit it at night. We loaded it up, put it in our dump truck, brought it down the hill.
Wow.
Keep coming. All right, there we go. There, oh, back up one.
Back up.
Mhm.
Back up one. And there we had 3 or 4 dump loads like that of
Wow.
material that we had to bring down. And then here's the end product on the next slide. We now have a clear road and a clear graded shoulder free of all roofing material. This is where we had to stage and drop all the material because it's such an incline. There is 26% incline on that road. So trying to dump it when you're sideways was not good when you got a kind of a balancing act of a load over your head. I could barely stand up on the road holding onto the truck, So they went up the hill a little ways to use this flat area here. So we had a lot of dumping there. We had to clean up too after we were done in that. So, but the owner that has the property there has called and thanked everybody for our quick response and is very happy with the cleanup. This is one last show to tell you about the skier skid. We rented it again. This is a drain on Sandia Creek, north of Diablo. And this skid steer just went right through this in about 15 minutes and just cleared all that shrub out of there and opened up that drain. Next slide. Now you can see there's the shoulder now with the drain open and everything. So and that's our presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Great
If
job.
I-
Thank you.
If I might just comment on the last slide. We've been talking about possibly purchasing the Skidster product, which should be coming up, as far as budget in May and June. I'm not sure, Steve, Dustin, someone knew about this piece of equipment as a brand. And we've been trying it out. How many times have we had this now? 3 times
We've rented it about 3 or 4 times now.
And I believe you've both seen the video where it shows about tree trimming,
Mhm.
where it just goes in and chips it all in one fell swoop, which is a huge time saver. And also chipping and trimming takes 2 people. With this piece of equipment, in theory, you could do it with one because it chips all simultaneous and just leaves it on the ground as mulch. Anyway, we're thinking about recommending that we purchase such a piece of equipment. I guess I've been a little bit reluctant because we bought the $100,000 tractor a year and a half ago. And to be honest with you, they just had to have this tractor. They'd been lobbying for it for like 10 years. All of a sudden, it just got approved kind of overnight at a committee meeting and then at the board meeting. And I personally haven't really seen it be used very many times. So yet in 3 months, the Skidster seems to be bailing us out of everything that we rent. So anyway, we're studying this right now.
Mhm.
And I guess I'd just like maybe tonight or to their next meeting, some input about if you have any feel like, is this, this is another $100,000. This is a lot of money to be spending on equipment. We've got a lot of equipment at our yard. Most of it's old. It's still working, but it's old, really old. So I don't know. I'm torn whether to recommend that we consider buying one of these, but we just dropped 100,000 on a tractor too. So we just can't be dropping $100,000 every year just because we want some new equipment. But this one, I kind of think might make some sense. Steve, you want to elaborate on what I just said? I'm somewhat lost here.
Yeah, that basically, as we kind of explained in the video last time, the skid steer has multiple units that attach to it. So it becomes not just one piece of equipment, it could become 10 or 20 pieces of equipment if we want. So when we need a backhoe to dig down into the drains to claw the dirt or silt out, we got to go rent a backhoe and have it delivered. And then we use it for that day or two, and then we have it picked back up again. The skid steer has an attachment that just hooks right on and it becomes a backhoe. When we need to trim and mow, then the same thing. If we want to mow the hedge or we want to mow the grass, we could just mow it down. If we want to trim trees, it'll go up to 16 feet. We can just start trimming trees overhead with it. This eliminates the need for us to hire contractors out to do it. We have a large budget that we put in there that we can do in-house at a much cheaper price, of course. And then the skid steer also is like a little bucket truck that can get down into drains and down into creeks that our big blade and our big skip loader can't reach. It's too big and can't go in. The skid steer is like a little ant that can crawl down the hills and crawl back up, kind of stuff like that. So it helps us get into the places that the big pieces that we own can't get to. So it's very functional. It can also be a sweeper. It has a sweeping attachment. It's a chipper. It can be a grinder. If we want to take striping off the pavement and grind it down, we can do that too. We pay extra in the slurry contract for the contractor to do that. We could go through and do that kind of stuff. So it has lots of things that it can do. So it's kind of a multi-purpose machine, which makes it more valuable to own than 2 or 3 or other pieces that you would have to own in exchange,
How does this compare to the tractor we bought 2 years ago in terms of the functions that you just described. There were about 6 or 7, chipping and backhoe and all this. Can that tractor do these same functions?
No, the skip loader is much more, and Dave or Ron could jump in here and explain probably better, but the skip loader is more of a, it's like a big, large bucket truck. So we use the skip loader as an example to clean up that mess on Los Gatos. It's got the big, huge bucket to scoop up the dirt or the debris that was on the road, things like that. But it doesn't have the other attachments. It doesn't have the backhoe attachment or the mower, the trimmer, the tree trimmer, the sweeper. All those other little attachments are that like go on a vacuum kind of thing. You got all the attachments. It's not built for that. It's built for kind of 1 or 2 basic purposes.
So this is a multifunctional machine that we're looking at now.
Yeah.
And as I told you the last time you and I talked about it, I just wish to heck that we would have spent the time on, some evaluation and study, which we've been doing on this machine. Last time when we spent $100 grand just overnight, because I don't think that was as practical of a purchase as what we're looking at now, right? We're going to get a lot of bang for our buck out of a kind of equipment like this.
Right.
Where the other one, there was only a couple of functions it does. And I guess, is Debbie out there or did we lose her?
He dropped. Somehow disappeared.
Okay, wait a minute. We don't have a quorum. Because it looks like she's off altogether.
Yeah, it is. Her screen just disappeared about a minute ago.
Well, Ray, I think I'm all of a sudden we started needing to purchase equipment, or not purchase, rent equipment to do these various tasks. And not being a field guy myself, it's happened enough times that I'm asking the question, well, why this tractor or this $100,000 tractor? I thought this was the end all. And now I find out we probably didn't. Well, there's Debbie. Oh, they're trading places. Okay. Hi, Debbie.
Sorry, I got booted out.
Oh, well, you're back. Yeah. Well, we were just making small talk here.
Oh, okay.
But we were talking a little bit about, a couple of years ago, well, there had been a lot of discussion on the board, and it was in the budget that we would buy this new tractor. But the board kept deferring the purchase for years. I mean, I've heard like 10 years. The board kept saying no when it came time to actually buy this new tractor. And then all of a sudden, at one meeting, it was brought up, oh, we need to buy this tractor, and bam, here comes a new tractor for $100,000.
Mhm.
Well, then, people have changed, things have changed. And so recently we're renting equipment, which tends to be this Skidster, which I believe is a brand name. All the companies, Caterpillar and all, seem to have a similar product. But we're renting that type of a piece of equipment. And so, me not being a heavy equipment operator myself, I keep saying, well, what about this $100,000 tractor that we needed so bad? Why is it we're renting, the same type of equipment, which is different, frequently? And I guess what I'm told is that the tractor that we purchased, I mean, that was great for the cleanup the other night on Los Gatos, but it's not doing all the things that we're renting equipment for. So anyway, that's why we're kicking around this idea of, in the next budget, let's just buy one of these things. I guess I am being somewhat facetious here, but just get rid of that damn tractor we spent all this money for, and I'll rent one of those when we need it. get our $100,000 back. But anyway, I'm just a little reluctant this time to say, yeah, let's just go drop another $50,000 or $100,000 on equipment. But it has somewhat proven itself in the last 6 months, because we seem to be able, when you saw that video with, going through those trees, and you can imagine, if you actually stood and watched our guys, each with a chainsaw or one with a chainsaw and a chipper. I mean, that what we saw in that video, they can do, and they've proven that in our field too. So that video isn't just a marketing tricky tool kind of thing. It's real. So when you compare the cost of our guys with one chainsaw out there and the other guy chipping versus what that can do, that's a huge labor cost savings. And also, we don't need the tree trimmers except for the really hard to get at stuff. Our guys can do it with that machine. So I don't know. I'm not, convinced yet, but we're thinking in the next few months. Okay, Steve. So
Well,
yes.
just one thing to add, the skid steer would replace 2 chippers. We actually own 2 chippers. We have an old chipper that doesn't work, but with the engine has still got value and it can be sold. And we have the chipper that we have. We also have an old skip loader that the new skip loader replaced that we could, dump off. And we have the mower that the skid steer would do. So there's 3 or 4 pieces of equipment that you can get salvage value out of. And that could be in the $20,000-$30,000 range for 4 or 5 pieces of equipment like that you can get that'll help offset the cost. Secondly, you don't have to buy the skid steer brand new. You can buy one with 200 hours on it and save yourself $20,000 or $30,000. So since we don't use a skid steer day in and day out like a developer would or a contractor would, we use it for special cases like that. Couple hundred hours on it would be nothing, kind of thing like that. And then thirdly, you have a large budget, as an example, like Jim was saying, for like tree trimming. We have $50,000-$60,000 a year. 65,000 a year for tree trimming. And if we could do essentially all the tree trimming, with the exception of an occasional emergency overhead that we can't reach, you could save 50,000 a year right there in tree trimming, which would pay for your skid steer the first year you owned it. So you save on the rental cost, you save on the tree trimming, you can salvage all the equipment that it replaces that's old, and you got one brand new piece of equipment or a reasonably new piece of equipment that can do 4 or 5 functions. So that's the way we want to kind of look at it.
I'd like to make a suggestion. What I'd like to see, everything that Steve has just pointed out right now, I'd like to see that on paper. I'd like to see what equipment that we have, what if it's being currently used, and for what, and its current value. If we can scrap, such as some of the examples that he gave there, are reserve parts for future usage on equipment. Just pretty much what you just spoke about, Steve. I'd like to see that in some sort of format or matrix, including, how we can gain some money possibly in terms of, selling some of this stuff. Also saving in terms of additional man hours or, and so forth. Just pretty much what you outlined, Steve. I think it'd be a good idea to see it on paper, because I think that's something that the board would like to, I think it'd be a good tool for us to take a look at. And I think that would give you the final answer in terms of, yeah, I think it sounds like a good idea. Let's go for the skip,
Okay. We could
How
do
about
that.
you, Ray? What do you think?
Yeah,
Okay,
look at it and see.
yeah.
So why don't we put that on the agenda next month, just to get some numbers? And actually, we've got some numbers we've looked at, so we can pull all that together and just kind of take it one step at a time.
Right.
Remember I said earlier about how the board adopted that tractor 10 years ago or something like that, but then they never bought the tractor. The process is that we don't have to decide this, this month, this, you know, in the next 5 months, whatever. I think what we're gonna do is kick it around with you, the committee, and then decide whether or not we want to recommend that the item be put into the budget, like to appropriate funds. Even if that passes in July or June 30th in the budget, that doesn't necessarily mean we're out, you know, on the street buying the next day. It would still, that just means the funds are there, and then we could still continue to look, you know, as we go.
Mhm.
And of course, the board would always have the opportunity, like prior boards did. Well, we may have money in the budget, but that doesn't mean you're going to buy it. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I think just kind of moving along one step at a time, because it is a capital purchase of a pretty sizable amount of money. And I mean, that's 40% of our payroll budget for our maintenance crew, including Steve's position, in a year. So, you know, for our little business, it's a serious undertaking, you know. That's why I say I wish we'd had more thought given on the tractor, because we still have an old tractor, you know. So, but it's what's done is done. I just don't want to. I think this time we need to step through it, you know, more
Right. I think
conservatively.
by putting it all on paper in some sort of matrix format, I think would be a good idea. So, and also, I mean,
Okay.
take a good hard look at the utilization of that tractor, given the cost of it. So, okay.
Yeah, Steve, we need to do that.
Okay.
Look at in the last, say, 1 year, how many times have we used the tractor and for what?
Mhm.
Okay, will do.
Okay.
Great. Okay, sorry. I'm finished.
Is that it, Steve?
That's it. That's my report.
Anything else, Jim, for you? I got a couple of minor items.
Just the county issues or state. Nothing has changed much on the legislation. I did have a meeting with LAFCO, and I'll report on that at the board meeting. We've gotten a draft of our required LAFCO audit of us as a special district, and it came out very, very well. And they are actually going to, or at least the staff, the executive director, support our efforts to obtain gas tax, you know, as a stable funding source. So the two, the bill and then this LAFCO process, this is a process 10 years ago when they reformed local government at the state level, they reformed local government. And they changed the scope of work of local agency formation commissions to include an independent audit of cities and special districts every 5 years. Now, I haven't been here 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. I just assume this is something that's been ongoing. This is the first one we've had, I think, in like 13 years. Like the first year that the legislature mandated it, they did one. And there hasn't been one since. And the reason is they can't meet the 5-year requirement because they don't have enough money. So the legislature didn't give them any money to do these. So anyway, they're doing them this year. Ours came out very well. And I just happened to mention to them this funding problem, which they had addressed, that we only get funds from property tax, or the benefit fees on property tax. And so they feel that an additional funding source from somewhere else would make more sense. And so I said, well, if you think that, why don't you support us then and help us get this bill through? So anyway, that's kind of where that's going. So it's kind of a good example of interagency cooperation here. So That is changing by the day, and I'll report the latest next week. There is an issue. Steve went to the meeting for us at Supervisor Jeffrey's office related to code enforcement on this property on, what is it? Dos Rios.
Dos Rios.
And the latest is that this person is asking us to vacate the street. Oh, let me back up. The purpose of the meeting at Jeffrey's office is because they're running a wedding venue there. Mr. Luna, he owns the property and he's running weddings there. And the complaints went to code enforcement, went to Jeffrey's office, and his staff had a meeting which we participated in as far as the roads go, and Steve attended on that. But now Luna has hired somebody to approach us about vacating the street because now he wants to gate the street, which you can't do that. It's a public, once you dedicate a street publicly, it's almost impossible to get it unvacated because of the Streets and Highways Code, California law requires a finding by the governing body. In this case, the Board of Supervisors and the district board, that the road is of no longer of any value or use to the public in general. Well, good luck making that finding. So that's why it doesn't happen. So anyway, Steve, is there anything on that topic? We're not sure where this is going, but this is, well, you're both aware of the problems of these wedding venues around different parts of Duluth, and this is one of them. And so, Steve, did I miss anything?
The only thing that immediately would affect us would be is that there's 75 cars out there parked on both sides of the road, kind of thing. So it's a 1-lane roadway, so fire access in and out would be restricted. They're putting portable potties out in the right of way like that to handle the venue. So those are issues that we may need to come up and deal with or do something if the county doesn't get them to just shut it down.
So for that item about the county, state, federal, FEMA federal, we have submitted all of our paperwork for our 90% reimbursement by FEMA. And that has been completed. They've acknowledged that our paperwork is in and it's acceptable format. So we're expecting to see our check within 6 to 8 weeks from now. It's 8 to 10 before, and that time has passed. And we're looking at somewhere around 800,000-900,000, depending on what they accept. We asked for like 1.2 million, but we're expecting them to cut us back a little bit because with FEMA, you always ask for more, it's just the way it is. And then we've already got 500 in hand, and then we will ask for Sandia Creek when we've actually expended money. So that's not we can't ask for that in advance yet until we've actually spent money. So there will be more coming as soon as Sandia Creek gets going. So we'll have a little more cash in the bank.
More is better, right?
Yeah. But I guess on that subject, cash in the bank, the question has come up about, well, why don't we just do another couple projects this year because we have all this money in the bank. And the finance committee was charged with looking into that. And they're probably not gonna have much to report because finance doesn't meet until the day before the next board meeting. So anyway, so we haven't had that discussion yet. And I actually thought it was gonna be this week, and then I keep forgetting it's moved back to just before the board meeting. So we will be having that discussion. So I'm not sure how the finance committee is going to report on that so if they had said, oh, sure, let's do another project or two this year, that would have been tonight to talk about with you. We've been back to, anyway, that's probably going to be an item for your next meeting. And that would be in May. And if we were to decide to do another project or something, we could certainly get that done. Well, we've already got 2 or 3 possibilities on the table. So, we can move pretty quickly on that. So we'll see what they say next Tuesday, and then they'll report themselves to you on the following evening.
Okay, sounds good. All righty, anything else? Nope. Okay, just wanted to let you all know, especially Jim and Ray, I will be here for the next engineering meeting on May the 11th, but I will be out of town May the 15th through the 23rd, so I will not be at the May board meeting. So I'm asking Ray if he can stand in for me on that evening, since I will be too far away to zoom in. And I'm
Okay,
looking forward to being there too. Heading out to Maui. We had to cancel our trip last year, so we're heading back this year.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so that is
You
that.
sure we
And then
can't
one
go
last-
with you?
Pardon me?
We can't go either, huh? With you?
Oh, no. In fact, we were
No.
gone for 2 weeks. We were going to be in Kauai the first week, and then staying with our friends there at their place. And then with the COVID and all the restrictions, it was just getting too chaotic and everything that we had to pre-do before going. So we just opted out. So we're just all going to our place in Kaanapali. So
Oh,
it's much
fun.
easier in Maui than it was in Kauai. So anyhow, so 1 week is better
Great.
than no week at
Great.
all.
Be sure to check out the roads when you're in Hawaii.
Oh, yeah.
See how good they do or don't.
As I remember, ours
I
are
miss the place. We've been going
better.
there for many, over 20 years. So I know the place like the back of my hand. So anyhow, so looking forward to it. So just wanted to let you guys, just to remind you of that. And the only last comment that I have, just a very brief update on Fallbrook and the Sandia Creek Gate situation. They're still in the middle of their appeal. And I do know that they hired a Fallbrook Gate Committee did hire a new attorney representing them. So again, this appeal went back to the Fallbrook Planning Committee. That's where it's going through right now. And their estimate is on or before June, they should hear back about this particular appeal. And so they're keeping their fingers crossed. There is a possibility that it can spark a second appeal. I don't understand that. So I was trying to ask a lot of questions, but the Fallbrook Committee is a little confused as well in terms of some of the requirements by the county. So yeah, so it's lingering on. It's not a done deal. They haven't lost total confidence as of yet, but that's where it stands for right now in the appeal process. And that's it on my end. Okay, gentlemen, ready to call it an evening?
Very good.
Nice and
That's good.
early.
good.
Okay, see you till next week.
Everybody take care. We'll see you next week.
Okay,
Bye.
bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Have a good one, everyone.
Thank you so much. Is it not?